It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Monday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 1 of the 3-game series with the San Diego Padres. Dodgers have won 10 of 16. They won 5 of 9 in San Diego. So far, they've won 5 of 7 here. 2 streaks on the line. The Dodgers have won 3 in a row, and the Padres have lost 5 in a row. Odrisamer Despaigne will be on the mound for San Diego. We saw him earlier in July, pitched a gem, and he lost 2-1. Who did he lose to? Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw is 17-3. He is 2-0, and both games were tough. One against Despaigne, and the other it looked like he would lose, and then an 8th-inning home run saved his bacon. That was against Tyson Ross. And lifetime, Kershaw is 11-6 against the Padres. One other note about Despaigne, he is 3-5, but when you look closely, he is 3-2 within the West, and his earned run average against the West, 1.5. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
In 1956, 2 Dodgers pitchers have also won the MVP award. The first, Don Newcomb, in 1956 when he was 27-7, and then Sandy Koufax, the lefty, in 63 when he was 25-5. Clayton Kershaw, could he be the 3rd Dodgers pitcher to win the MVP award? Already going for his 18th win of the season. That leads the league 17-3 on the year with a 1.70 ERA. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. I'm Alana Rizzo. Many people argue that a pitcher should not be able to win the MVP award, but with the season that Clayton Kershaw is having, he certainly has to enter the conversation for the National League MVP. The last pitcher to do so was in the American League. That would be Justin Verlander. 2011, 34 starts, 24-5 was his record. Look at the difference in ERA. Clayton Kershaw with such an impressive 1.70 ERA, 202 strikeouts, 25 walks. Of course, Clayton Kershaw has already won 2 Cy Young Awards in 2011 and 2013, almost 3 runner-up to R.A. Dickey. Clayton Kershaw on the hill tonight in Game 1 between the Padres and the Dodgers. Vin Scully on the call after the break. We'll be right back.
You where the master painter has taken some paint off the palette, some brush strokes on the canvas that absolutely take your breath away. And this is one of those rare moments. My goodness. No, my God. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. Game 1 of the 3-game series between the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Clayton Kershaw going for the 3rd time, and he's had 2 very tough games against San Diego. So the fact that the Padres are 14.5 games behind the Dodgers doesn't mean anything when they go head-to-head. They really are push against shove. Bud Black has done a great job in his 8 years as the manager of the Padres. He's never really had a lot to work with, but he has a brilliant pitching staff and a couple of very promising young ball players. We'll take a look at the Padre lineup. Dodgers have beaten them 10 of 16. Yangervis Solarte at third base. Reimer Liriano in right field. Jed Jerko at second base. Rene Rivera, the catcher, hitting cleanup. Yasmani Grandal at first base. Tommy Medica in left field. Cameron Maben in center. Alexi Amarista at shortstop. And Odrisamer Despagne. Clayton Kershaw, without further introduction, about ready to pitch. He is 17-3. He is 2-0 against the Padres this year, and they were both rough games, 2-1. And his first pitch of the night, a little low to Solarte for ball 1. Yangervis Solarte from Valencia in Venezuela. He's related to a former big leaguer, Roger Cedeno, his uncle. He hits a little number off to the left of the plate, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Solarte, 5'11", 195, 27 years old, originally signed by the Minnesota Twins, never made it, and from 2006 he labored until he had a taste with the Yankees. Hits a hopper back to the box. Kershaw spears it and throws him out. Well, seeing a fine defensive play, let's check the Dodgers with the leather. And we'll start in the outfield. Carl Crawford, Yasiel Puig, and Matt Kemp. Then the infield, and that would mean Juan Uribe, Hanley Ramirez, D. Gordon, and Adrian Gonzalez. You can bet behind the plate there would be A.J. Ellis when Clayton is pitching. So with 1 out on a nice defensive play by Clayton Kershaw, the batter Reimer Liriano, the right fielder. Kershaw into the windup, and the first pitch of Liriano was swung on and fouled back. 0-1 the count. So Liriano trying to get something started with Jed Jerko on deck. You know, really, Kershaw has reached that stage where you know it's a team game. You could spend most of the night just talking about what he has done. Strike 1 pitch on the way to Liriano. Change up in there for a strike. And when you see him get that over so early, the message has been delivered. Some innings you'll see at the start of the game he'll struggle with the change. But if that's the way he's going, that's the way he will go. The next pitch is low, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kershaw 17-3. 2 victories. 2-1 over Despaigne and 2-1 over Tyner Ross. He is 11-6 lifetime. You break down that 73 record as the Padres look on. Cameron Maybin very anxious, and a chopper up along third, charged by Uribe, flicks it over to first in time for the out. So Liriano taps to third, 2 away. Kershaw, with a 17-3 record, is 8-2 at home, 9-1 on the road. And now the guy out of West Virginia, a solid ball player, Jed Jerko. He had plantar fasciitis of the foot, so that kind of slowed down the whole year. But he has 9 home runs, 47 runs batted in. He's a fine young ball player when healthy. Last year, he had 23 home runs, 63 runs batted in. Hits a ground ball to Uribe, who cranks it up and throws him out. So Kershaw goes through the top of the lineup on 8 pitches, 1, 2, 3. And at the end of half an inning, Padres nothing, Dodgers coming up. 8 pitchers take care of the first 3 hitters. Now let's take a look at the name on Don Mattingly's card that's been already sent up to home plate. D. Gordon, Hanley Ramirez, and Mr. Adrian Gonzalez after that performance yesterday. Matt Kemp with a 13-game hitting streak, followed by Carl Crawford, Yasiel Puig, Juan Uribe, A.J. Ellis, and Clayton Kershaw. On the mound for the Padres, it's a mouthful, but it's worth it. Odresamir Despaigne. He's from Havana, Cuba. He's an even 6, 195, 27 years old, signed by the Padres this year. And Despaigne, they tell he will remind you a little bit of El Duque. He has a lot of pitches and a lot of arm angles. Right-handed delivers, puts one away in high, ball 1 to D. Gordon. Gordon hitting .287. 2 home runs, 30 RBIs. Last 4 games hitting almost .370. The 1-0 pitch on the way. D takes way off the plate. 2 balls and no strikes. A fellow Cuban is at first base. Yasmani Grandal as the right-hander. Odresamir Despaigne delivers, and he's high again. Ball 3. 3-0. A couple of games ago, Grandal was the catcher and Despaigne was the pitcher. So they had an all-Cuban battery, which is really something. There hadn't been an all-Cuban battery in 45 years. The pitch in for a strike, 3-1. You have to go back to Camilo Pascual and Paul Casanova. That was the last all-Cuban battery in 1969. Almost had it tonight, but not quite. 3-1 pitch in there for a strike, and the count 3-2. Waiting on deck, Hanley Ramirez, and then Adrian Gonzalez. No score. We're just starting first inning. Right-handed Despaigne works from the first base side of the rubber. Next pitch hit up the middle, right under Despaigne's glove and into center field. So that will put a completely different reaction on the mound of Despaigne with a rabbit at first base and nobody out. So D. Gordon hit one just under the pitcher's glove and on through into center field. So Gordon, who has stolen 58 and has been caught 17 times, ready to start things as Hanley Ramirez checks in. Giants are not playing. They'll start tomorrow night against Arizona at AT&T Park. Wade Miley tomorrow night against Yasmiro Petit. Wednesday they'll have Josh Colmenter going up against Ryan Vogelsong. And then the Thursday afternoon game, it will hit Randall Delgado and Jake Peavy. So then Friday night, the Dodgers will be in San Francisco, Hyun-Jin Ryu and Madison Bumgarner. So tonight it's all Dodgers. No score, first inning. Gordon at first base. Despaigne delivers, fastball, big chopper foul outside of third down the line. No balls and 1 strike to Hanley. 13 home runs, 63 runs batted in. A healthy Ramirez, of course, means a great deal to the Dodgers and to the attack. Meanwhile, Gordon poised off first. Despaigne right on the edge of the first base side of the rubber, looks over his left shoulder, still looking. Now the strike 1 pitch, and that runs away off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hanley checking. Lorenzo Bundy in the third base coaching box. Despaigne pitches a lot better at home than he does on the road, and that's reflected in the big difference in his earned run average. 1-1. There goes Gordon on a foul ball. So Gordon sliding into second. We'll have to go back and try it again. 1-2 the count. Despaigne at home, his earned run average is 2.1 with a batting average against him of only 2.02. When he gets out on the road, however, ERA 4.4 and the opposition batting average 277. So pretty dramatic difference home and away. All right, 1-2 the count. Hanley back up and waiting. Off the bag is Gordon. Despaigne another look. still looking and backs off the rubber and lobs the ball over to first. For Despaigne, according to the scouts, he has two variations of every pitch. Different arm angles, high, three-quarter, sidearm, even low three-quarter, and a pretty good feel for all of his pitches. Another throw. Despaigne is from Havana, as we mentioned, and pitched for the Industriales of the Cuban National League. While he was in Europe, he pitched for the 2013 World Port Tournament, and he became a legal resident of Spain and eventually traveled to Mexico. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Another look. There goes Gordon. The pitch is low. Throw on a hop and late. Also dropped by Jerko at the same time. So 59 stolen bases now for D. Gordon. So the Dodgers have a runner in scoring position. Nobody out, just the start of things. Tough pitch for Rivera to handle. It was almost in the dirt. So Rivera had to dig it out and throw, and Gordon beats it. If you're a catcher, you would love to get, let's say, a right-hand batter. You would love to get a fastball high and away. That opens it up. So Rivera did not really have a chance to get Gordon on a bad pitch. 2-2 pitch now. Instead, they're trying to shadow Gordon. Amarista directly behind him, trying to take a step away. So Hanley trying to get his man at least to third. Of course, it's so early in the first inning, you're not really worrying about getting him over. You're more interested in picking him up for a run. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Despaigne set at the belt. Comes right to the plate. Hanley hits an off-speed pitch. A looper into left field. Base hit. They will send Gordon in, and they can't do a thing about it. And it is 1-0 Dodgers right away in the first inning. Tommy Medica out there in left field did not exactly get a good jump on that ball. A fly ball that drops in left field. Ramirez, of course, will certainly take it. Base hit, run batted in. So the Dodgers get the drop. Fly ball. Medica comes in, but it's going to drop in front of him. Tommy plays a lot of first base. He doesn't have the arm to throw to the plate. So the run is in. 1-0 Dodgers after 2 hitters. And now it'll be Gonzalez and Kemp coming up. So Hanley picks up a run batted in. And now Adrian Gonzalez, and there goes Hanley. The pitch outside, high throw, and they get him. Nice throw by Rivera, who's got a very good arm. If you give Rene a good pitch to handle, he can get the runner. So he nails Hanley Ramirez. He did get a good pitch. He didn't have to go down to get it. Throw was a little high, but Amarista got Ramirez on the back going by. Hanley has been a very successful base stealer. 13 out of 18. Good play by Amarista and Rivera. So 1 out, 1-0 Dodgers. Adrian Gonzalez coming off a 6 RBI game yesterday. Looks at a changeup in for a strike. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Adrian Gonzalez, last 3 hits have been home runs and have resulted in 8 runs batted in. 1-1 pitch on the way is taken low. For Adrian, another year. In fact, right on this date, it equals exactly what he did all last year. 22 home runs and 100 RBIs, and counting tonight, he still has 19 more games. 2-1 off-speed pitch. Again, another changeup. 2-2 the count. If you are watching on TV, this is what he did yesterday. Cleared the center field wall for a 3-run home run, and then went the other way, barely over the left field wall. So a total of 6 RBIs, a bubble bath, and he led the Dodgers to that 7-2 win. 1-0 Dodgers first inning. Despaigne turns, no windup. Right-handed big curveball in the dirt. That was 70 miles an hour. So 3-2 the count. Darren Balsley refers to Despaigne as Matt Kemp waits on deck. He just says he's unique. And of course, he means by the fact he has a lot of pitches and he serves them up a lot of different ways. And Bud Black, who was a fine left-hand pitcher in his own right, watch a foul ball of Gonzalez's foot, and the count stays 3-2. As far as Despaigne is concerned, he delivers a lot like Livan Hernandez, Jose Contreras, and his idol, Orlando Hernandez. Three and two the count. Rivera wigwagging a sign out. Despaigne ready. And the 3-2 pitch to Adrian is swung on, a hopper to short. Alexi Amarista lobs it over to first, and that will do it for Gonzalez. So 2 down here in the first inning, and the batter now will be Matt Kemp, who's on a hot roll of his own. Matt Kemp with a 13-game hitting streak and has just really been on a tear. In the last 37 games, he's hit just under 300 with 11 home runs and 28 runs batted in. So all of a sudden, 282, 19 home runs, 68 ribbies, and a 13-game streak. Despaigne comes sidearm, and it's popped up on the infield. Jed Jerko, the second baseman, backs out on the grass, makes the catch. That's the first time we've seen Despaigne drop the arm that much, wouldn't you know, against a right-hand batter. So the Dodgers pick up one thanks to the speed of Gordon and the timely hit by Ramirez. Kershaw goes to work, leading 1-0. Inning, and Clayton Kershaw ready to face the Padre catcher Rene Rivera. Interesting note, we'll give it to you in a moment. The first pitch coming up is swung on and missed. Last year, when Kershaw started, the Dodger team record was 19-14. This year, when Kershaw starts, the team record is 19-4. However, we have a rather disconcerting addition to that. Pitch is foul back. Yes, it's true. The Dodgers are 19-4 when Kershaw pitches. What about the team record when he doesn't pitch? They are 4 games over 500. That's all. 4 games over. 62-58. No balls and 2 strikes. The count to Rene Rivera, the father of twin girls. And Rene takes strike 3 called. He's going to argue a little bit, but not much, with the plate umpire, Lance Barrett. Rene, by the way, when you saw him throw out Hanley Ramirez, he has thrown out 23 base runners so far this year. I mean, he's a big threat. He nailed Ramirez pretty easily. Didn't have a chance to get Gordon because the pitch was almost in the dirt. So one away, and the batter now, Yasmani Grandal, the Cuban, who takes a strike. Grandal followed by Tommy Medica. Yasmani, switch hitter, right-hand batter, can catch for you, so a very valuable player. Takes high. Yasmani well put together, 6'2" and about 210. 26 years old. Takes high, and the count runs 2 balls and 1 strike. Yasmani was born in Cuba, immigrated to Miami when he was 10, started catching when he was 13. 2-1 pitch. Big guy swings, squirts a little ground ball to the right side. Gordon takes care of it. So we have 2 down in the second inning, and the batter will be Tommy Medica. So Kershaw has retired 5 in a row, striking out 1. And here's Medica, who went to Santa Clara. Tommy with 8 home runs, 24 runs batted in. He's 26 years old, born in San Jose, drafted out of Santa Clara by the Padres, attended Bellarmine High School in San Jose. Tommy takes a look at his strike, and the count 0-1. Among the many numbers on Clayton Kershaw is the fact if you're going up against him, you just don't want to have any left-hand hitters in the lineup. Strike 1 pitch on the way, fastball, grounded to the hole, backhanded by Hanley, a hopper to Adrian, who stays with it, and that's that. The Gonzalez, a good play on a long one-hopper thrown from deep in the hole by Ramirez, and at the end of an inning and a half, Dodgers 1, Padres nothing. One nothing Dodgers, bottom of the second inning. Carl Crawford will start things off. Crawford will be followed by Yasiel Puig and then Juan Uribe. And Puig just now coming up the steps to get in the on-deck circle, and Crawford checks in. Despaigne ready and delivers, and the pitch off the plate, ball 1. Crawford, as he stands in, hitting .270, half a dozen home runs, 32 RBIs, and can run like the wind, 22 stolen bases. Off speed, the changeup drops in. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Despaigne, who threw a lot of changeups in the first inning, gave up 1 run. Down 1-0 here in the second. Right-hander's 1-1 pitch is just off the corner. 2 balls and 1 strike. You know, one of the big conversations in baseball today, maybe you're involved in it yourself with your friends, Here's the 2-1 pitch to Crawford. That's inside. Do you think that a pitcher should win the Cy Young Award and Most Valuable Player? And of course, Clayton Kershaw is mentioned in the National League. Felix Hernandez of Seattle is mentioned in the American League. Fastball is high, ball 4, and Crawford goes to first on the walk. Did it ever happen? Oh, sure. In fact, if you go back to 1968, that was the year of the pitcher. Denny McLain and Bob Gibson dominated their way to both awards. It was rather incredible. Denny McLain pitched 336 innings. Can you imagine? 336. And Bob Gibson's earned run average 1.1. And baseball worried. Here's Puig fouling a pitch back and the count on 1. Why did they worry? There was no offense. The pitchers dominated. And one of the big reasons, the mound was 15 inches high. Well, they cut it down to 10 and the offense returned. But McLain and Gibson did it. Of course, you go way back to Don Newcomb. He won Rookie of the Year, Cy Young Award, and MVP. Strike 1 pitch. Yasiel takes check swing high. 1 ball and 1 strike. Anyway, that's one of the discussions, and if you want to talk about it at all, you can point to the fact of what the team does when the pitcher leads the way. Like the Dodgers and Kershaw, it's truly amazing. On the mound, they're a pennant-winning team. Without him, 4 games above 500. That's a tough stat. Way out in front, again, as Yasiel Puig taking in the game. Don Newcomb, Big Nuke, and his wife Karen. He won all the awards, and well, he should have. You talk about being a dominant force, and besides being a great pitcher, he was a terrific hitter. One year, hit about 359 and had 7 home runs. The 1-2 pitch coming up to Yasiel Puig. Curveball lifted foul, coming off his Grandal, trying to lean in, but it's 4 or 5 rows back. So Puig is still there, 1-2. There are so many articles you can get overwhelmed because they watch players individually now, everything they do. And they break down what's happening to Yasiel Puig as Clayton Kershaw sits quietly and roots for him. And they look at the pitches that he has gotten and the pitches that he is getting. Here's the 1-2 pitch, a throw to first. And surprisingly, you might figure, well, they've changed. They're throwing a lot more sliders, a lot more curveballs. But no, they're getting him out with fastballs. And then there's the thought, well, maybe he's tired. Maybe that hip is still bothering him. He just can't turn on the fastball as well as he did. No one seems to know. The 1-2 pitch, a little high. That was a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. And Puig exercised a little discipline. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Waiting on deck, Juan Uribe. Dodgers lead 1-0. Gordon singled, stole second, and Ramirez singled him home. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Yasiel Puig. Despaigne, who throws a lot of pitches. Back he comes, fastball just off the plate. Despaigne looks over to the Padre dugout as if to say, what am I going to do with this guy? Lance Barrett is the plate umpire. That's not Ted Barrett. Lance Barrett is a very young umpire. He's going to be 30 in October. He lives in Fort Worth, Texas. That's pretty young. He's been a major league umpire a little over a year. There goes the runner, and it's foul back. So the count remains 3-2. Yasiel Puig with Crawford at first, nobody out, and Uribe on deck. Padres with a 5-game losing streak. The Dodgers with a 3-game winning streak, and the Dodgers have beaten Bud Black's boys 10 out of 16. 3-2 pitch. There goes Crawford. It swung on and missed. An arrow down to second base. I tell you, Rene Rivera has a great gun, and he has just thrown out 2 We told you he had thrown out 22 before, so he has at least 24 caught stealing. Great arm. So Puig strikes out, and an arrow down. Whoa, what a perfect throw. All Jerko had to do is put his hand down, and Crawford was going to slide right into the tag. So 2 outs, second inning. Rene Rivera with his Twins now has 2 caught stealing. Uribe fouls a pitch back, and the count 0-1. Uribe, who's done well resting. Every few days they take him out, and it seems to pay off. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Off speed, check swing. No swing from Dana DeMuth. Dana's put in his years. The first base umpire is also the crew chief. Dana's had 30 years in the majors. 1-1 fastball hit late, and it carries down the right field line in the corner and goes gone. Home run. Juan Uribe swinging so late on the fastball, you thought surely it would slice foul. It went right into the area of the foul pole. Raimel Liriano went in the corner, and the ball stayed fair, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. A look of total disbelief on Despaignet's face. That's only the 6th home run that he's allowed, and the bubble machine and the victory dance, and they love it. They can clobber Uribe to their heart's content, and oh, how they love to beat him up. So Despaigne now down 2-0. Here's A.J. Ellis, and a fastball high, ball 1. Boy, you talk about slicing it thin. Uribe will never hit a home run that was so close to going foul. The 1-0 pitch on the way, in for a strike, and the count 1-1. 6th home run of the year, 2nd this year. Uribe acting angry, then breaks into a laugh. He is the pet on the ball club. The 1-1 pitch on the way to Ellis. That's taken for a strike. Another fastball. 1-2 the count. It is pretty hard that you get a ball in the seats that close to the foul pole, and it wasn't that high or anything. It just got in. Little slider missing. 2 balls, 2 strikes. As far as Despaigne is concerned, he might as well have hit it out of the ballpark. He'd probably have been happier if that happened than one that just squeezes in the right field corner. 2-2 overhand curveball grounded to first. Grandal takes it to the bag, and that's it. But the Dodgers pick up a run. Juan Uribe. I wouldn't call it miraculous, but it was amazing that it stayed fair. If you're watching the game on TV, it's going to go, he was seen late, right down in the corner, maybe 2 rows back. And at the end of 2, it's 2-0 Dodgers. Tuesday, September 23rd. Be one of the first 40,000 fans in attendance. You'll take home a sleeved blanket presented by your SoCal Honda dealers. For tickets and all of the games with the Giants, visit Dodgers.com/tickets. Third inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Cameron Maybin, the pride of Asheville, North Carolina, checks in and takes a pitch high and inside, ball one. Cameron, 6'3", 220. He's another fella, 27 years old, still looking for a hit. 2 for 21 against Kershaw. Fastball is swung on and missed, 1-1. We were talking about left-hand batters in the lineup. Now they have two switch hitters, Solarte and Grandal, but they're batting right-handed against Kershaw. 1-1 pitch taken for a strike, 1-2. Slider. There he is, the one left-hand hitter in the lineup, Alexi Amarista. We'll tell you the reason why we bring that up. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Maybin looks and it's away, 2-2. This season, there have been 43 plate appearances by left-handers that have ended on a Kershaw slider. And the batters are 0 for 42 with one walk. And Maybin swings, comes up empty, down he goes. Strikeout number 2 for Clayton. And here comes the one left-hand batter, and he's a pest. Alexi Amarista hitting .236. He has 3 home runs, 20 runs batted in. He has stolen 18 out of 26. And he is the proud possessor of a home run against Clayton Kershaw. Yep. And the pitch foul back, 0-1. In fact, check me now as we look at the record. The home run is by Jed Jerko, just to make sure we get that right. So Jerko, not Amarista. 0-1 the count. Third inning, bases empty, 1 out. 2-0 Dodgers. Kershaw works one in at the knees, fastball. The low hard one. You always heard about the high hard one. Kershaw throws the blur down around the kneecaps as well. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Amarista fouls it back. Alexi Amarista taking over for Everett Cabrera. Amarista is 5'7", maybe 150. 25 years old. Swings a one-hopper. Oh, what a nice pick by Uribe to throw him out. Whoa. So Juan Uribe makes it look easy. And that sinking line drive to the gloved side, and like a vacuum cleaner, he just seemed to suck it up. Dropped to his knees, got up, and threw out Amarista. 2 down here in the third inning. 8 in a row retired by Kershaw, and Despaigne coming up. Odrisamer swings, doesn't get it, and the count 0-1. He has had 18 at bats in the big leagues. He is 0 for 18. He's only struck out 7 times. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Little roller up along third. Uribe gloves it, straightens up, fires to first, and gets his man. So 9 in a row retired by Clayton Kershaw. And at the end of 2.5 innings, thanks to Juan Uribe, it's 2-0 Dodgers. For one, Uribe had a home run right down the right field line, made a couple of nice picks at third, has a big grin on his face, and Uribe with 177 career home runs. They're piling up. Clayton Kershaw will start things off. Then it'll be D. Gordon and Hanley Ramirez. Kershaw has retired 9 in a row. He has struck out 2. Kershaw has 5 hits, 2 RBIs, struck out about a third of the time, and a strike, 0-1. Dodgers trying to win their 4th in a row. Padres have lost 5 in a row. Despaigne gets a strike, 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Drissimer Despaigne. And his strike 2 pitch on the way. Slow curveball, changeup at 71. Interesting note about Uribe. You know, we mentioned he has 177 home runs. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Slow curve, slapped down to short. Amarista at the other end of it. And that'll do it for Clayton. 1 away. Remember the other day, Adam LaRoche of Washington hit a home run to left field. And he had 200 and many home runs. And only 15 had ever gone to left field. Well, Uribe has 177 career home runs, and only 9 have been to right field. And boy, did he cut that one thin, just inside the right field foul line. So 1 away. Here's Gordon, as usual, led the attack. Single, stole second, came home on a base hit by Ramirez. D takes a pitch for a strike that gets by Yasmani Grandal. Wide of first base. Tommy Medica is really over in left field straight away. You'd almost think a right-hand batter was up. Strike 1 pitch, sure enough, is hit in the air down the left field line. So Medica doesn't have far to go and makes the catch. So baseball, like real estate, location, location, location. And Medica was in the perfect spot. 2 down. Hanley Ramirez coming up. It's 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the 3rd. Dodgers a 3-game series with San Diego. Then Thursday they'll go up to San Francisco for the collision. Tomorrow night Andrew Kashner will go up against Roberto Hernandez. Ian Kennedy will go up against Dan Harron Wednesday night. And the Dodgers travel on Thursday. Despaigne right on the edge of the rubber on the first base side. Hanley single to left field to drive in a run. Takes an off-speed pitch low. Came up there at 68 miles an hour. Despaigne, who reminds a lot of people of El Duque, a fellow Cuban, and his idol. 1 ball and no strikes. Changeup floats in there at 67 miles an hour. And a 1 ball, 1 strike count. So that's the art of pitching. Not just to throw 67 and come back 92. Throw them both for strikes. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Despaigne ready. Right hand is 1-1. Fastball is hit up the middle for a base hit. So apparently Ramirez thought, well, he throws me a 67-mile-an-hour changeup. I'm going to get a fastball. And he did. A 93-mile-an-hour Swifty. And Ramirez ripped it up the middle. So a veteran hitter is not fooled. And the batter now will be Adrian Gonzalez. Dodgers have 4 hits. One of them the home run by Uribe. Hanley thrown out trying to steal in the first inning. Gonzalez grounded to short. 0 for 1. Rene Rivera just wondering, would they try to run again? He's already nailed 2 Dodgers. And the pitch to Adrian down and away, ball 1. Might be more prudent perhaps to make sure you don't have Gonzalez losing at bat. But we'll see if that quiets Ramirez at first base, especially with the showcase turned in by Rene Rivera. Pitch in for a strike to Adrian that balances the books. 1 ball and 1 strike. Couple of notes about Despaigne. Padres don't score for him. The innings that he pitches, they give him all of 2 runs. For Bud Black, how he wishes for more offense, because the pitching on his staff, probably the best in Padre history. 1-1, Ramirez bluffs and it's foul back. That bluff drew Amarista to his left. It opened up the door on the left side a little bit. Tyson Ross, do you remember the game he pitched here against Kershaw? He led 1-0 into the bottom of the 8th inning, and with a man aboard gave up a home run, and he lost to Kershaw 2-1. The lanky right-hander out of Oakland is quite a young pitcher. 1-2 the count. Set is Despaigne. Back he comes off the plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Adrian Gonzalez. There's the man who had the big home run in the bottom of the 8th inning against Tyson Ross, Justin Turner. And it was just in time for Clayton Kershaw. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Throw to first. Hanley back on the bag. When Despaigne wins, he really dominates. In the 3-0 wins column that he has, the earned run average is 0.4. Well, he's given up 2 runs tonight. 2-2. Hanley takes in the dirt. 3-2 the count. So Hanley was not about ready to do any running with Adrian at the plate, Matt Kemp on deck. But now with 2 down, 3-2, Hanley will be going. On a 3-2 count this year, hitters are batting .148 against Despaigne. So we'll see now. There goes Hanley, and a big swing and a miss. Amazing. Cut that average less than .148. Adrian strikes out. They leave Ramirez, and at the end of 3, 2-0 Dodgers. Brought to you by the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. Two to nothing in favor of the Dodgers. Beautiful evening, 79 degrees when the game started. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, nothing across for the Padres. Second time around now. That means Solarte, Liriano, and Jerko. Talk about an improvement from one year to the next. You could just look at Clayton Kershaw. Last year, his strikeout to walk ratio was 4-1. This year, it's a little better than 8-1. Line drive, base hit to left field. Over to get it, Carl Crawford, so that didn't take long. Solarte removes the thought of a no-hitter with a shot to left. And the batter now will be Reimer Liriano. In case you wonder about fellas who are fortunate enough to pitch 2 no-hitters in one season, you probably remember Johnny Vandermeer from the history books at least. His second no-hitter was under the first night game in Brooklyn. Allie Reynolds, Virgil Trucks, Nolan Ryan, and Roy Halladay. One of Halliday's came in the postseason. So Kershaw is not going to be listed in that tonight. And his first pitch a little low to Liriano. Reimer ground ball to third. The big problem for the Padres this year, they just do not score. Their offense overall is not productive. If you start looking at various areas, they're down around 15th most of the time. The 1-0 pitch, big bouncer wide to third. Uribe down to Gordon. Gordon back to first, not in time. So Liriano hits into a force play. The ground ball almost found the hole, and Uribe's glove was there. So 5-4 force play, and the batter will be Jed Jerko, who grounded out. So another nice play. The force play, the good play by Uribe flashing to his left. Here's the overall look at the San Diego Padre offense. They're 15th in the lowest number of runs scored in the league. 15th, the lowest number of hits in the league. 14th, lowest number of home runs in the league. Now, you know, that's enough. And yet, any game, they're tough. Here's Jerko. Fastball low, ball one. Holding at first base, Reimer Liriano. A.J. Ellis, after watching Rene Rivera, has already seen someone who can really nail him. A.J. no slouch himself as he settles in. Liriano off the bag. Kershaw looking right at him. Jerko waiting at the plate, and he backs off on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball for a strike. Liriano, who plays the outfield, has stolen 2 out of 3. The people who do the running, Amarista, with 11 stolen bases. They lost a good one in Cabrera. He had stolen 18. Slow curveball. There's that pitch that sends the message. Everything is all right. 1-2 the count to Jed Jerko. Of all his pitches, when he starts dropping in that slow rainbow curveball, the Dodgers feel everything is okay. Jerko, who has power, remember 23 home runs last year. Jerko out of West Virginia. Jerko, 26 years old, come the end of this month. Went to West Virginia University. Now the 1-2 pitch. There goes the run of Liriano, and it's dropped by Ellis behind the plate, and Liriano steals it easily. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. So Liriano, who does not run much, but of course when you have an offense that doesn't score much, you don't gamble on outs on the base paths. But Liriano steals his third. Ellis didn't find the handle on the ball, and Liriano safely in at second. 1 out. Dodgers lead 2-0, and we're in the 4th. That time he missed with that big slow curve. 3-2 the count. When Jerko broke in, he got his name with some pretty good ball players like Dan Uggla and Joe Gordon, Alexei Ramirez, by hitting more than 20 home runs as a rookie second baseman. Fastball takes off high, ball 4. So just like that, with the stolen base, the Padres have the tying runs aboard, 1 out, and the catcher Rene Rivera coming up. Rene from Bayamon in Puerto Rico. He was originally drafted by the Mariners. He's coming into his own now as a defensive catcher. Rene waits, right-hand hitter, about 5'10", swings and lines one to the gap in right center, and this is going to go to the wall. Cut off before it gets to the wall by Kemp. 1 run is in. Liriano brings it home. Long single for Rene Rivera, and it's 2-1 Dodgers. And of course, that's the thought about Kershaw being 2-0 against the Padres. Each time he beat them 2-1. So for Kershaw, kind of a rare experience, a stolen base. He doesn't give that up very often, and a walk, and then it's cashed in on Rivera's single. So Liriano comes home. Jerko is now at third, so the tying run is 90 feet away. And here is Yasmani Grandal, a switch hitter, batting right-handed. Fastball in for a strike. 0-1. Yasmani grounded out the other way to D. Gordon. Rivera held on, short lead at first. Jerko down the line from third, and the pitch swung on and missed. 0-2. As far as that stolen base by Liriano, the 5th stolen base against Kershaw this year. 5 successful, 4 caught. 0-2. And down goes Grandal. That's the slider to take care of him. For Kershaw, his 3rd strikeout. 2-1 Dodgers. And the batter now, Tommy Medica, the left fielder, who grounded to short. 0-1. Remember, for Kershaw, the fact that the Padres have a run is a big deal, because over his last 15 starts, his earned run average is 1.1. That's the same as Bob Gibson had, we mentioned earlier, back in 1968, when the mound was 5 inches higher. Fastball, cracked bat, pop fly, Adrian Gonzalez. So the Padres get 2 hits, a walk, and a stolen base. And at the end of 3.5, as usual, they do not give ground. Dodgers lead 2-1. Matt Kemp with a 13-game hitting streak coming up. He popped up in the first inning. Matt Kemp yesterday hit a home run along with a 2 by Adrian Gonzalez. He is now 1 behind Mike Piazza and then Goop before he catches Garvey. He also made a great defensive play, a one-hopper to the plate to get Miguel Montero yesterday, and then he came up for good measure and hit one into the left field pavilion. So Matt, certainly an all-around player and feeling a lot better physically, and consequently it's reflected in his play. Kemp, with everything else, has also stolen 8 bases. So Matt, who has never been the same, and he's the first to admit it, as far as running is concerned, that was a serious ankle injury he suffered. But he appears to be over that. Off speed, a change, and he was way out in front of it, and that was a sidearm change. As we told you, Despaigne has all the basic pitches, but he throws them from different arm slots. 0-1. Over the top now. Check swing, no swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers had Gordon single and Steele second. Ramirez singled him home, and Uribe homered in the second inning, just down the right field line, to give the Dodgers 2. Well, the Padres came back with a couple of base hits, a stolen base to get 1. Kemp trying to time another off-speed pitch at 71. So those pitches will drive a hitter to distraction. However, remember with Ramirez, he tried to come back after the off-speed with the fastball in 93, and Hanley singled. Let's see about Kemp. Fastball, but just off the plate. Take a look at his motion. It changes almost every pitch. He finally comes almost over the top, 3/4, like just then. And again, another 93. But we've seen him drop down to sidearm and almost a little lower than that. Odrisamer Despaigne from Havana. Now the 2-2 pitch, off speed, 75 miles an hour. He's not afraid to throw that stuff at any time in the count. Carl Crawford waiting on deck. 3-2. Fastball foul back. So now he's gotten a couple of fastballs. Yasmani Grandal, who's playing first base, but he's caught Despaigne a few times, and he said, I love to catch him because I never know how the pitch will react. I know what I'm calling, but his delivery and the reaction to the pitch, totally different every time. Change up, and he missed. So a 3-2 change, and Kemp walks. And the batter now, Carl Crawford, he walked in the second inning. Dodgers 2 runs, 4 hits, 2 walks, 1 stolen base. They've had 2 base runners burned, Crawford and Ramirez. Two to 1 Dodgers. Bottom of the 4th inning, nobody out. Fastball, chopper under the backhanded effort of Grandal and down the line. On his way to third easily is Matt Kemp. The throw run down by Amarista, and the runners hold at first and third. So Crawford wedged that under the diving Grandal, and the Dodgers now have something going. First and third, nobody out, and Yasiel Puig coming up. Right there, just got underneath the leather. Kemp flying to third, grounded it, and then held up. And Amarista had to handle a throw in and was about ready to throw over there. So the Dodgers first and third, nobody out. Yasiel Puig struck out with Crawford going in the second inning, and Crawford was thrown out by Rivera. So Yasiel has a big chance to contribute. 13 home runs, 59 runs batted in. batting 6th tonight. He's been all over the lineup. Fastball inside corner for a strike. Yesterday, Puig was batting 7th. Went 0 for 3 with a walk. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 2 hits for the Padres. Breaking ball fouled away. So 0-2 the count. When you're struggling, as Puig is and has been struggling, it just seems like when you walk up to the plate, the count's no balls and 2 strikes. Mark McGwire has certainly spent a lot of time talking to him. You can listen, but tough to put in play. 0-2. Fastball just to show it. 1-2. Kemp down the line from third. Crawford always a threat to go. Fastball lined into center, base hit. For Puig, hallelujah. Maben overruns the ball, and into second base goes Puig. Over to third base goes Crawford. And the Dodgers lead 3-1. There's the hallelujah look. So Yasiel Puig, a single to center to drive in Kemp. Takes second on the error by Cameron Maben. So 3 runs, 6 hits. The error charge to the center fielder. Puig takes 1 look and keeps on going, and he's able to beat the throw to Jerko. Over to third is Crawford. So nobody out. Runners at second and third. The infield comes up, and the batter now, Juan Uribe. So Maben's error really put the Padres in a hole, and Rivera going out to talk to Despaigne. So in the inning, and it causes Bud Black to shake his head. He spent the whole year really doing that. Kemp walked. Crawford singled into third. Puig singles to center, scoring Kemp. The ball is bobbled by Maben. So Crawford goes to third, Puig to second. And for Yasiel, base hit and a run batted in. So Despaigne now down 3-1 and pitching to Uribe. And a strike. On deck, you have A.J. Ellis and then Clayton Kershaw. So maybe a thought passed by about putting Uribe on, but immediately Despaign's first pitch, a strike. Slow and low. 1-1. Giants are not scheduled today. They lost in the Sunday night game in Detroit. So the Dodger lead is 3. Should they win, 3.5. Should they lose, 2.5. Matt Kemp busy tonight with a walk and then going all around. Off speed again. 1-2. Uribe hit a fly ball home run right down the right field line, just inside the foul pole, maybe 2 rows back. Raimel Liriano got a good look but couldn't touch it. Another off-speed pitch. Rivera blocks it. Runners hold. So Rivera doing yeoman-like work behind the plate. Despaigne does not have a wild pitch. Here's a look. Curveball. Chest block. A look at the runner at third. By the way, when Yasiel Puig looked up to the heavens, that hallelujah moment, that was his first RBI since August the 15th. 2-2. Fastball on the hands. Check swing. Boy, Uribe's lucky he didn't get hit on the hands. Just ran in on him. Check swing. Just did hit the handle. Right there. So still 2-2. Well, after working him up and in, be interesting now the location of this pitch. And another one off speed. So Despaigne strikes out Uribe. Now the batter is A.J. Ellis. 3 strikeouts for the right-hander. A.J. Ellis hit the ball hard in the second inning. Ground ball to Grandal. For the Dodgers, including tonight, they have 19 games left, 15 against the West. And remember, they're 19 games above 500 against the West. The other 4 games in Chicago at Wrigley Field. A.J. fouled away. 0-1. Ellis with a home run, 14 runs batted in. Checking with Lorenzo Bundy. First base open. Now the infield is up. Coming down the line from third is Crawford. Ellis, hitting in the 8th spot, has 2 sacrifices if you're thinking squeeze. 1 ball, 1 strike. Again, the check and the look. Kershaw on deck. 1 out. Ellis hesitates, double checks on Bundy, who then talks to Crawford. Crawford's the guy, he will tell you if it's a squeeze, he's got to come just as Despaigne delivers the ball. He is not coming. Ground ball, backhanded by Jerko, who can't make the play to home and throws him out. Padres lose a run, and the Dodgers lead 4-1. So on the fielder's choice, a ground ball, second to first. Jerko lost, and a lot of times you're going to see that, but with Crawford's speed, Jerko decided, nope, I just can't make it. As soon as the ball is hit, Crawford decides, I'm going. And it had to be backhanded by Jerko, so that took him out of the play at the plate. So a frustrated Padres second baseman, not to mention how Despaigne feels, and it's 4-1 Dodgers. Off the plate, ball 1 to Kershaw. Ellis grounding out, picks up a run batted in. Dodgers 4 runs, 6 hits. Puig coming away from second base. Amarista behind him, but pretty far behind him. Chopper to Amarista. He cranks it up, and that takes care of Kershaw. So the Dodgers wind up with 2 runs. 2 runs, they had 2 hits, a walk, and at the end of 4, 4-1 Dodgers. Four to 1 Dodgers. We go to the 5th inning. The Dodger calendar, well, it shows the Dodgers have 2 games with the Padres left. That'll be tomorrow night and Wednesday night. Tomorrow night Hernandez against Cashner. Wednesday night, Herron and Kennedy. Thursday, a travel day to San Francisco. And starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a collision. And the pitchers, Hyun-Jin Ryu Friday night against Madison Bumgarner. Saturday, it'll be Zach Greinke and Tim Hudson. And Sunday, the wrap-up game, Clayton Kershaw and Yusmeiro Petit. And remember, as of the moment, the Dodgers lead the Giants by 3, and there are 6 left. The 3 upcoming this weekend, and then 3 starting on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of September. So we're getting close to the wire. Yasiel Puig has to feel refreshed, getting an RBI for the first time since August 15th. That look up in the sky, I'm sure, meant a great deal. So 4-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Cameron Maybin, whose error set up a play. Then it'll be Alexi Amarista and the pitcher, Odresamir Despaigne. Cameron Maybin struck out in the 3rd inning, 0 for 1. Fastball strike at 93. Padres put together 2 hits, a stolen base, and a walk, and got a run. Chopper foul outside of 3rd. Glenn Hoffman lets that go by. Jose Valentin coaching over at 1st. A reminder tomorrow night, Roberto Hernandez and Andrew Cashner, who throws so hard. Fastball hit to the right side to Gordon. So 1 away in the 5th inning. And the batter, Alexi Amarista, who hit a ground ball and a fine play by Juan Uribe to get him. Amarista, who is the shortstop now. Everett Cabrera just about done down there. Drag bunt and foul. 0-1. You have to watch Amarista, especially on the base paths. He has stolen 11 out of 12, and he has stolen 3rd base 6 times. Alexi's from Barcelona, Venezuela. All he heard about growing up, you're too small, you're too small. So he began playing amateur softball, and then he played that so well, they took another look at him, and he's a big league shortstop in every way. 1-1. Fastball skied to left. Crawford is there. So 2 down in the 5th inning, and Despaigne coming up. He grounded to 3rd in the 3rd inning. 0 for 1.
Pitcher number 40, Odresamir Despaigne.
Odresamir Despaigne. That's a pretty good name, isn't it? Foul back. We were figuring to have, let's say, Despaigne, Arabuena, Jan Hervis Solarte. If they ever got mixed up in a rundown, it would be an announcer's nightmare. 0-2. Yeah, there's Jan Hervis Solarte. Slow, and down he goes. 74-mile-an-hour changeup. That's 4 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. So at the end of 4.5, the Dodgers lead. And of course, as usual, spearheaded by Dee Gordon, who began the game with a base hit, stole a base, and they drove him home. Fifth inning. You know, June 18th, Clayton Kershaw threw the first no-hitter of his career, and to honor the achievement, there'll be a commemorative pin giveaway to the first 40,000 fans here when they open a 3-game set with the Giants on Monday the 22nd. Compliments of 76. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So September 22nd, which is the number that Clayton wears, that's a good reminder. His pin. The bunt, foul ball. Though D is still there, 0-1. By the way, as Clayton Kershaw sits quietly in the Dodger dugout, when Kershaw receives 4 runs or more, his record is 63-0. 1-1. 63-0. Well, he's gotten the 4 runs tonight. We'll see if it gets to 64. 1 ball and 1 strike to D. Gordon. 2-1. Gordon singled in the first inning, stole second, and came home on Ramirez single to left. Then the Dodgers had Uribe homer in the second, and on a couple of base hits and a walk plus an error, Dodgers picked up 2 more. That's a strike. So Despaigne down 4-1. Remember, coming into this game, in his starts against the West, his earned run average was 1.5. Straight change, pulled to Grandal. One out in the 5th. Hanley Ramirez, single to left, single to center. Coming up. When the Padres come up in the 6th inning, they'll have Solarte, Liriano, and Jerko. Sidearm fastball. Missed with it. 1 ball, no strikes. Figure out, Despaigne was in San Antonio and El Paso all this year. I mean, he was only signed this year. But it's pretty hard to call him a rookie because he spent 8 years with the Nacional team in Cuba. Change. 2-0. Now, the last time you remember, he followed the changeup with a fastball, and Ramirez, as the players say, was sitting on the fastball and probably single to center. Another change. All right, now you're Hanley thinking, okay, that's back-to-back changeups. Does he expect me to be certainly not looking for 3 changeups in a row? So therefore, he'll probably come with a fastball. Well, let's see how it works out. 2 balls, 1 strike. Fastball. Whack to the hole into left field. So every time Despaigne tries to set Hanley up, Hanley's ready for it. And it seems like it's always been a couple of changes and then the fastball, and Hanley's ready. And the batter now will be Adrian Gonzalez. A diving attempt, but that's all for Amarista. Over he comes, misses, so close. So now for Adrian Gonzalez, a little bit of a frustrating night. I mean, it's not just that Gonzalez is 0 for 2. Ramirez has 3 hits, Gordon has 1. So they've been 4 men up there on base. Ball 1. A reminder, Roberto Hernandez and Andrew Cashner tomorrow night. Cashner is another fine young pitcher. Forget about his record. So Hernandez making his own notes. 1 ball, no strikes. Change at 68. He's had 1 pitch, 67. They're talking about Cashner. His record is 2 wins, 7 losses. Forget it. That doesn't mean a thing. Earned run average 2.3. He can really bring it. 2-0. Hanley was thrown out trying to steal in the first inning. Ramirez has stolen 13 and been caught 5 times. Adrian, 22 home runs, 100 RBIs. Dodgers 4 runs, 7 hits, 1 home run. Padres 1 run, 2 hits. Changeup. Wow, he throws a lot of them. 2-1. His pitch is getting up there, though. Number 92 in the 6th inning. 5th inning for him. His club coming up in the 6th. There you can see the 4th inning. That's when he labored 24 pitches. 2nd inning wasn't that easy. And that will be ball 4. So the Dodgers with 1 out have runners at 1st and 2nd. That would be the 3rd walk given up by Despaigne. And Matt Kemp still trying to extend that 13-game hitting streak coming up. You know, as Adrian Gonzalez stands at first base, you want to put something in perspective, and that was his success against Arizona. Adrian Gonzalez this year against Arizona hit .413. He had 7 home runs, 25 runs batted in, and as you know, the Dodgers won 15 of 19. You might say, has there ever been a Dodger that had a better year against a team than Adrian Gonzalez? And the answer has to be yes. Triple Crown hitting categories, Tommy Davis. Little slider low. Tommy Davis hit .452. He had 8 home runs and 27 runs batted in against the Giants in 1962, even though the Giants won 11 of the 21. That's going to be a shot into left field. Base hit to extend the streak. Here comes Ramirez to score. Gonzalez to 3rd, and to 2nd goes Kemp, and the Dodgers lead 5-1. So Matt Kemp extends the streak. He's hit safely in 14 straight. Went down to get the breaking ball and hits it sharply into left field. Dodgers pick up 1. And now Bud Black is going to the mound. I'm sure he brought a hook with him. Yes, he did. So that'll do it. Adios for Despaigne. Frank Garces, the left-hander, throwing in the pen. Dodgers lead 5-1, and we'll be back. Could almost make the word despondent, as the right-hander from Cuba lasted only 4 1/3 innings. He made a lot of pitches, 96, and he's roughed up 5 runs, 8 hits. 1 home run by Juan Uribe, and among the carnage was the base hit by Matt Kemp that extends his hitting streak to 14. So Garcia's coming in, the left-hander trying to restore order. And Carl Crawford will be the first to test him. Garcia's only in his 6th game, and he's pitched pretty well. Carl Crawford walked and singled to right, scored a run. Down and away, the infield is up. The 1 ball and no strikes. 5 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 2 hits for San Diego. So Kershaw sitting on a big cushion. Big curveball down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Clayton, and it can happen. Seems like a long inning. So he's got to get up and stretch a little bit. 1 ball and 1 strike. Another breaking ball. Got a good one. Frank Yuri Garces. He's from San Cristobal in the Dominican Republic. About 5'10", maybe 170. Been a pro for the last 5 years. Another breaking ball. Same pitch. Down and away. So Crawford has seen them all in his long career, hitting .272, 6 home runs, 32 runs batted in, 22 stolen bases, although he was thrown out tonight. 1-2. Fastball just to show it to him. Garces originally signed by the Texas Rangers. Had a big summertime in the Dominican. 2-2. There's that roundhouse curveball, but he got it in. A long drive. Liriano at the wall. It is gone. He kept throwing that breaking ball down and away. And that breaking ball stayed in, and Crawford turned on it, and he hits it out. Crawford's 7th home run. 3-run dinger to give him 35 RBIs. And the Dodgers now in what you'd call a runaway against a weak offensive team. Let's face it, Dodgers 8, Padres 1. So for Garces, he is charged with 1 run. 7 runs charged to the starter. Liriano thought he might have a play, but couldn't quite get it. So the Dodgers wind up 7 runs and 8 hits against Despaigne. For Crawford, his 7th home run. Here's Puig in the dirt. Despaigne sitting back, thinking that his earned run average has just blown up. Charged with 7 runs. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball punched on the ground. Jerko. That kind of reminds me of that thing we were talking about at the start. Now, for one reason or another,
Third baseman number 5, Juan Uribe.
Yasiel Puig is having a lot of trouble hitting fastballs. or at least the statistically minded people who watch every pitch and record every result. So Yasiel tonight 1 for 3. Juan Uribe. Ball 1. And a line drive base hit into right center. Maben is up with it, and Uribe holding. He's 2 for 3 with a home run and a single. Well, how'd you like to be Bud Black? I mean, you're sitting in your dugout. You have, next to the last, weakest offense. You're 15th out of 16. You're not only behind 8-1 on the road, you're behind 8-1 to Clayton Kershaw. Can you honestly look at your club and say, hang in there? We'll bet them. We'll come up with something. Well, we'll be back. Dodgers as Clayton Kershaw's Ping Pong for Purpose charity event becomes a hit with teammates and celebrities as well. Plus, you can go behind the scenes as Jock Peterson follows in his dad's footsteps and is called up to the major leagues. So don't miss the new episode of Backstage Dodgers. That'll be Thursday at 7 right here on Sportsnet LA. Leonel Campos. He's from Valera in Venezuela. 26 years old. Good size, 6'3", about 185, 190. So Leonel ready to work on A.J. Ellis. It's a 4-run inning, and the Dodgers lead 8-1. Ball 1. Another non-roster invitee called up so that Bud Black can take a look at him. Fastball in there at 94. A.J. grounded to first, grounded to second. On his ground ball to second, he picked up a run batted in. Remember when Jerko got it, looked at Crawford scoring and threw to first. Another fastball. And another fastball at 94. 26 years old, Leonel Campos. And another one. So he just throws all fastballs, walks Ellis. Dodgers now have runners at first and second, 2 out, and Clayton Kershaw coming up. There is no escrow in baseball. You can't say, well, I'll take a couple of runs off the top, put that in the bank, and use it the next time I pitch against San Francisco. Fastball. So far, a one-trick pony. 1 ball and no strikes. Campos selected from San Antonio AA just a couple of days ago. Well, that's all we've seen. Rivera going out to talk to him. One fastball after another. He also, besides spending most of the year in San Antonio, now Darren Balsley's going to go out and maybe say to him, hey, pal, we got to change it. We can't just throw fastballs. And he's saying to Rivera, you're calling the game. Let's see something else besides a fastball. He had 11 games at El Paso, that's AAA, but most of the year AA in San Antonio. So Crawford hit the home run to really break it open. Sliced foul on another fastball. 2-1. So Carl having a big night. Walk, single, home run. He'll take it. And the Dodgers breezing 8 runs, 10 hits. Padres 1 run, 2 hits. I won't even say it. Just look at the little box in the right-hand corner of the screen. Three and 2 the count to Clayton. If nothing else, Kershaw happy to have an at-bat instead of just sitting in the dugout. He's the 9th man to come to the plate. Long inning. He'll start with the top of the Padre lineup in the 6th inning. 3 and 2. The runners go. And down he goes on guess what? So the Dodgers settle for 4, and at the end of 5 lead 8-1. The Brooklyn Dodgers beat the Milwaukee Braves 10-2 and clinched the National League pennant on the earliest date in franchise history. Well, so bolstered, that team went on to win the division, the game, the pennant, by 13.5 games. And then, for good measure, went into the World Series, and lo and behold, finally did it. Johnny Padres shut down the Yankees 2-0, and the Brooklyn Dodgers had their first and only World's Championship. Let's go back to this one. '55. What a team, what a year. Walter Alston calmly at the wheel. People like Johnny Padres, Don Newcomb, Carl Erskine, Preacher Rowe. Wow. The infield for the Dodgers: Hodges, Robinson, Reese, and Cox, Campanella, Snyder, Ferrillo, Amoros. Great group. Meanwhile, strike one to Yangervis Solarte. One ball and one strike. Solarte hit back to the box, single a left in the fourth inning. Padres scored their only run in the fourth, because Kershaw still has a long way to go. The leadoff man, top of the sixth. Little low, 2-1. Padres, battling left-handers, have not done that badly. Their record against left-handers, 16-18. And ball three. Of course, that's the only problem when you have a 9-man at bat in the fifth inning, and your pitcher hard not to stiffen up a little. 3-1. A hopper foul. Solarte apparently heard a little thin crack. Didn't break the bat, hit the ball hard, but he'll need another bat. So 3-2 the count. They always told a story, and it goes way back in Ebbets Field, the Dodgers playing the Pirates. Pirates rallying in the ninth inning. Bob Elliott, a very good hitter, home run hitter, came up with 2 out. Took a whole bunch of pitches, never used the bat. And it got down to 3-2, the game on the line, the runners going. Elliott swung and missed, and the bat broke in half. And he was furious at the bat boy. Yeah. Three balls, 2 strikes. So Solarte draws the walk in the sixth, and of course Kershaw is on edge anytime he pitches. He is really a fierce competitor, and I'm sure he's furious to lead 8-1 and walk the first guy he faces in the sixth inning. But I would think part of it was because the Dodgers had 9 men go to the plate in the fifth. Liriano grounded third, hit into a force play, stole a base, and scored the Padre run. Way inside. 1 ball and no strikes. Through 4 innings, Kershaw had walked 1. Good fastball, good swing. 1-1. Reimer Liriano facing Clayton Kershaw. Reimer is a 6-footer weighing 220. Solarte at first. And lined into right field, base hit. Matt Kemp is up with it. So Kershaw retired 9 in a row. Then in the 4th inning, gave up 2 hits, a walk, a stolen base for a run. Retired the side easily in the 5th. And now, after a somewhat lengthy bottom of the 5th, he's a little off mark. He is not spot on. I don't know where that came from, but it has to be British. Spot on. Jerko is grounded to third and walked 0 for 1. Capable of hitting the ball out. 0 and 1. Dodgers 8 runs, 10 hits. Home runs by Uribe and Crawford with 2 aboard. Carl having a big night. He has scored twice, knocked in 3. One ball and 1 strike. Kershaw trying to regain some form here. One and 1. Fastball fouled away. 1 and 2 the count. Clayton has made 63 pitches. That means he's made 12 pitches so far in this inning, giving up a walk and a single, nobody out. Meanwhile, Rick Honeycutt checking his notes. One ball, 2 strikes. That's a big overhand slow curve. When in doubt, that's an ace pitch for him. And down goes Jerko. 5 strikeouts for Clayton. First out in the inning, and Rene Rivera coming up. So the curveball takes care of Jerko, as Roy Campanella always called it, public enemy number 1. Rivera's had a big night. He has thrown out 2 runners, and he's 1 for 2. Struck out, single to right. High foul, out of play. Clayton Kershaw, including tonight, has made 24 starts. Leading off the inner in the 6th, he walks Solarte. And you know, the first commandment, get the first pitch for a strike and get the leadoff man. So the question is, how many times do you think Kershaw has walked the leadoff man in 23 games? And he's averaged about 8 innings a start. The answer is 8. That's all. And although we certainly don't have to make excuses for him, part of it could have been that long bottom of the 5th. No balls and 2 strikes. One and 2. By the way, you know, if you looked at the Dodgers and how they scored runs by innings, you might be a little surprised. In the 5th inning, the Dodgers have scored 30 more runs in the 5th inning than the opposition. 30. And of course tonight they scored 4. What innings have bothered the Dodgers the most? You'd have to say the 9th inning or extra innings. Minus 14 for the 9th, minus 9 for the extras. But boy, they sure pound in the first 8 innings. 2 and 2. High pop fly, shallow center. Here comes Puig. Throws to first base, and it gets away, so the runners are going to advance. The throw by Ellis now goes to center field. Here comes Puig's throw. Are you kidding? That goes all the way to the backstop. Around third, and coming to the plate, Kershaw gets out of the way, and the run scores. I can't believe that. Holy mackerel. That's embarrassing. Yeah, look at that look on his face. Yeah, that sums it up. Wow. You want to look at that again? That would be banned in Boston. Here's the fly ball. Puig makes the catch. Fakes once, throws to first. That gets away. Picked up by Ellis. He throws to second, but instead of hitting Gordon, it goes into center field. Puig has another chance. Throws it away.
First baseman,
and here comes a run, and then Kershaw says, I don't want to mess around with him. That's the smartest thing of the night. It is 8-3 in favor of the Dodgers. Yeah, it's hard not to keep a smile on that one. Eight to 3 as the Dodgers play as bad a series of throws and plays as we've seen all year. In fact, in a couple of years. 1-1. I would bet there'll be some delicious writing about that sequence of plays. And the smartest play, Kershaw giving up the run. Why am I going to try to tag a guy? I'm leading by 5, and I've won 17 games. Watch again. Kershaw gets the. Never mind. I'm not going to even try to tag him. Liriano sneaks in. Big curveball off the plate and catches it for strike 3. So 8 runs, 10 hits, and 3 errors for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 3 hits, 1 error for the Padres, and we stagger to the bottom of the 6th. Get a great deal on this month's $6 foot-long special, the Italian BMT, or the $3 6-inch Select, the Sweet Onion Chicken Teriyaki. Subway, eat fresh. And by your Southern California Mazda dealers. 8-3 as the moon looks on. Dodgers giving the Padres 2 in a wild top of the 6th inning. There were errors charged to Puig and to Ellis, and the last one to Hanley Ramirez. So that really was a kind of a shake-up inning, especially for Kershaw. He certainly prides in his ability, and well, he should. He lost a little focus after that long 5th, and then the ball club just had one shabby effort after another. The wild throw by Puig, the wild throw by Ellis, and then the last wild throw by Hanley Ramirez. So they were not spot on. They were definitely spot off. If you wonder where that expression came from, spot on, it came from India, and I'm sure when India was occupied by the British, and it comes from smoker-based games of billiards. Spot on. Dodgers spot off, but they're leading 8-3. Gordon is single, stole second and scored, fly to left, grounded out. Uribe and Puig summing it up in Spanish. What was that? 1-2. Hanley made the eventual throw that got away, and the third run scoring at home plate when Kershaw made the best move of the night and backed away from the sliding Liriano. 8 runs, 10 hits, 3 errors for the Dodgers, 3 runs, 3 hits, and 1 error for the Padres. It's been Despaigne, Garces, and Campos. Gordon 1 for 3. Down he goes. So 1 out in the 6th inning. That'll be the second strikeout for Campos. And the batter, Hanley Ramirez. Hanley having a big night with the bat. 3 for 3. Trying to get that batting average up at least into the high 70s. Got a little ways to go. And a strike. Hanley Ramirez in the first inning single to left. That was his 150th career hit at Dodger Stadium. 1-1. Tomorrow night, Roberto Hernandez and Andrew Cashner. Wednesday night, Dan Herron and Ian Kennedy. Cashner and Kennedy putting their heads together. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-2. Remember, the Giants will be playing Arizona starting tomorrow night. Wade Miley, Yusmeiro Petit. Then Wednesday, Josh Colmenter for Arizona, Ryan Vogelsong for the Giants. Thursday afternoon, Randall Delgado and Jake Peavy. Hanley can't believe it, but he's just been rung up. Strike 3 by plate umpire Lance Barrett.
First baseman Adrian Gonzalez.
3 strikeouts for Campos. And the batter, Adrian Gonzalez, who has grounded to short, struck out, and walked. Gonzalez, after a big day yesterday, 0-1 to count. When the Dodgers were throwing the ball around in the top of the 6th inning, we caught that bemused smile on the veteran's face. Didn't stay there long, but you understood how he felt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Line drive just fair inside the chalk. Adrian on his way for 2. Liriano picks it up, gets it back in there. So Adrian Gonzalez, a double to right. That would be his 36th double and 22 home runs.
The Dodgers right fielder, number 27.
Boy, how that ball just did find the chalk, but it found it right by Grandal, and bingo, right on the foul line. So a 2-out double by Gonzalez, and the batter, Matt Kemp. One thing about Major League ball players you can count on, it took a lot of hard work, and they have a lot of pride in their work. The worst thing that can happen to a ball player is to be shown up. And the other worst thing is if they kind of show themselves up with a rather bizarre play. And that's about what you would call what took place in the top of the 6th. And I guarantee you, Messrs. Puig and Ellis and Ramirez are embarrassed. Most RBIs, Matt Kemp moving up, but he's got a long way to go now to catch Ron Cey. That's in the dirt. Good block by Rivera. So Adrian holding at second, 2 out, 8-3 Dodgers, 6th inning. Totally different game for Kershaw this year against Padres. He won 2-1 against Espana in July. He won 2-1 against Tyson Ross. Tonight, somewhat of a wild game. He's leading 8-3. Three and 0. I would think if he likes the location of the pitch, can't see any reason why they wouldn't let him swing 3 and 0. And on the outside corner for a strike. Big pitch. He thought it was ball 4. You can green light him, but it doesn't mean he's obligated to swing. He's only looking for a ball he can really drive. Same for Hanley, who is still annoyed, I'm sure, over strike 3. 3-1. And ball 4. So Matt Kemp walks twice, but he did get the base hit to extend his streak to 14. And now here's Carl Crawford, who walked and singled and then in the 5th inning unloaded. 3-run home run. That opened up the gap. The bubble machine was back and working. Carl, 7 home runs, 35 runs batted in. 22 stolen bases. Strike. One ball and 1 strike. By the way, with all that took place in the 6th inning, there were 3 outs and there were 3 errors. Kershaw made 22 pitches. One and 2. Campos now mixing up his pitches a little bit after just throwing fastballs. He's being backed up. R.J. Alvarez loosening up in the San Diego pen. There's R.J. One ball and 2 strikes. 2 out. 2 on. And down we go. So it winds up, Campos strikes out the side, gives up a double and a walk and nothing else. At the end of 6, Dodgers 8, Padres 3. 1938, Babe Ruth was the first base coach for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Well, that's right. Well, tomorrow at 7:10, the first 50,000 fans in attendance will take home a Dodger Babe Ruth bobblehead presented by Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Clayton Kershaw working now on Tommy Medica, Cameron Maybin, and then Alexi Amarista. High foul out of play. 0-1. Dodgers 8 runs, 11 hits, 3 errors. San Diego 3 runs, 3 hits, and 1 error. Medica signed by the Padres 4 years ago. Tommy plays first base and left field. They also mentioned that he is caught. Last year, briefly, he hit .290 for the Padres. Pop fly, it will be Gonzalez. So Medica pops it up, 1 away. And the batter is Cameron Maybin.
Center fielder, number 24, Cameron Maybin.
Maybin struck out, grounded out, 0 for 2, committed an error, so it's been a tough night for him. And a drive to center. Puig a full turn and goes back and makes the play. So Maybin hits it hard, but right to Puig. 2 quick outs here in the 7th inning. Yasiel turning his back and then turned back, picked it off. Nice play by the center fielder. Now Alexi Amarista robbed of a hit by Uribe and flied to left. Fastball strike. We're in the 7th. Dodgers trying to pick up a half a game on the idle Giants. Should the Dodgers win, they'll be leading San Francisco by 3.5. Of course, a big battle going on for the wild card, and it's interesting, the 4 teams who are right now involved, remember, for 2 wild card spots. Ball 2. You have the Giants, and the Dodgers are 6 and 7 against them. You have Pittsburgh, and the Dodgers are 2 and 5 against Pittsburgh. Then they have Atlanta. Could be a wild card. Dodgers was 6 and 1 with them, and Adrian to Kershaw for the 3rd out. And Milwaukee is another wild card team, and the Dodgers lost 5 out of 6 to them. They have hard work if they're facing a wild card team, but they're leading here 8-3. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning with the Dodgers leading 8-3. And Bud Black trots out another young pitcher. Take a look. Despaigne started, then Garces, Campos, and R.J. Alvarez. He's from West Palm Beach, lives in Royal Palm Beach, went to Florida Atlantic, Cardinal Newman High School. Only 21 years old. 6'2", 215 pounds, and he's older than 21. He'd be 23 now. For the Dodgers, Puig, Uribe, and Ellis. Yachiel tonight struck out, single, grounded out. Fastball, 2-0. Alvarez is just starting. His first year just 2 years ago. And last year, Inland Empire. So that's down the ladder. And here he is in the big leagues. Looked like a cutter, 95 with a little movement on it. Wow. 3-0 the count. He made his major league debut as Jock Peterson sits and wanders around, and Clayton Kershaw just concentrating. They leave him alone. Nobody's going near him. 3-0 the count. Alvarez had been with the Angels. That's right. He was part of the involved deal, 5-player deal, that sent Houston Street to the Angels. That's the picture. Wow, he throws hard. You might not have an idea of the strike zone, but he throws hard. So Alvarez opens up with a walk to Puig. Comes a little sidearm and runs that thing inside. And Juan Uribe coming up. Alvarez is another youngster who was brought up from Double-A. So he bounced around between Arkansas and San Antonio. 61 strikeouts with only 13 walks and an earned run average of 1.2. Strike one. So the Dodgers are looking at some Double-A pitchers. Garces, Campos, Alvarez. Bud Black is really looking at them. Fastball. Uribe didn't get around on that thing. 0-2. Throwing hard, making a lot of pitches, however. Walk Puig. 1-2 the count to Uribe, who homered, struck out, and singled. And big bouncer foul. Took a lot off that at 87. Hard to believe that's his change, but he's hit 96 on the fastball, so maybe he can change up at 87. One ball and two strikes. And pop foul out of play. Upstairs. Now that's funny. 99 times out of 100, a foul ball straight back upstairs, you could bet was a fastball, and the way he's throwing, you'd figure it's in the 90s. However, that foul ball that went up above us was on an 87-mile-an-hour pitch. 1-2. There's the fastball on the infield. And let's see. It'll be Jerko. So Uribe pops it up. One away in the 7th. And A.J. Ellis coming up.
Number 17, A.J. Ellis.
A.J. exchanging a few catcher's remarks to Rene Rivera. A.J. with a home run, 15 runs batted in. Tonight, grounded out twice, picked up an RBI on one of the ground balls, and walked last time up. Boy, one good fastball after another. Haven't seen a breaking ball. When Campos came in, remember, he was just firing one fastball after another, and they finally met with him on the mound. 0-1. That fastball really rising. You see where Rene Rivera had his glove. He wanted the ball down, and it just sailed up. No balls, 2 strikes. Fastball at 94. You see a kid like Alvarez or Campos, you see them throwing 95 and 96, and they're AA pitchers just coming up. Can you imagine what it must be like in the minors? So many guys throw 95 and don't have an idea where it's going. Fastball, this time hit to center. Maben is there. So we have 2 down, and Clayton Kershaw coming up.
Pitcher number 22, Clayton Kershaw.
Kershaw, 2 ground balls to short and struck out. And ball 1. Clayton made, without a doubt, the smartest play of the night. On a play at the plate, the throw from Ellis to Clayton and Liriano flying down the line. And Clayton decided, tagging this guy leading 8-2 is not worth sacrificing the year in my career. No, I don't think so. Nope. Welcome. Congratulations. I'll give you that run. Fouled away. The Dodgers had made only 2 errors in the last 91 innings. And what happened tonight in the scramble, Kershaw recently allowed his first unearned run of the entire season. So it was a forgettable night, but also you make some notes on it. 2-2. The errors charged to Puig and to Ellis and to Ramirez. Yasiel led off with a walk. He's still there. Fastball, a hopper to Amarista, quick force play to Jerko, and that'll do it. So the Dodgers go quietly in the 7th. Nice inning for A.J. Alvarez, and we go to the 8th with the Dodgers leading 8-3. eighth inning. For the moment, they are 3 in front of San Francisco. A victory would make it 3.5. And of course, the Dodgers and the Giants have the big collision on the weekend. Friday night at AT&T Park, Hyun-Jin Ryu against Madison Bumgarner. Saturday, Zach Greinke and Tim Hudson. And Sunday, Clayton Kershaw and Yasmiro Petit. All the games will be right here on Sportsnet LA. And remember, the Dodgers have 6 with the Giants, 3 this weekend, and then 3 here at Dodger Stadium, September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And the way this race is going, it'll probably go right down to the wire. Kershaw and Ellis put their heads together. Adam Moore, right-hand batter, is going to come up and bat for Alvarez. Eight to 3, Kershaw. Oh, and 1 to Adam. Six home runs, 19 runs batted in. 0-2. Adam Moore is from Texas, from Longview, but he lives in Phoenix. Went to Northeast Texas Community College, and now he knows what it's like to face Kershaw. So 1 away. That would be 7 strikeouts for Clayton.
Third baseman, number 27.
And the batter, Yangervis Solarte. Solarte hit back to the box, single to left, and walked, and eventually came around to score in that runaway 6th inning. Down in the Padre pen, Alex Torres, a left-hander loosening up. Backhanded by Uribe, a perfect throw. Wow. And then he looks over in the dugout with a straight face. Reminds me, a million years ago, the Dodgers had a wonderful third baseman named Billy Cox. And he'd make a play like that, even in the World Series. And he would look over at the dugout and he would flick his index finger on his right hand, like there's nothing to it. And he even do that in a series. Kershaw getting underneath that line drive throw. Another nice play by Juan Uribe. So 2 down, and Reimer Liriano coming up. It was Liriano coming in to score when Kershaw decided wisely, let him score. 8th inning, 2 out. Dodgers lead 8-3. Liriano is grounded out, hit into a force play, stolen a base, and he has scored 2 runs. He was also thoroughly frustrated back in the 2nd inning on the fly ball that just stayed fair and went 2 rows back in right field, hit by Juan Uribe for a home run. 1-2. Kershaw, 88 pitches in the 8th inning. I mean, that's 99 pitches in a game if you stayed on that, which would be wonderful, especially this time of year. Last 3 games, 108, 109, 103. There it is. That big hello slow curveball, 74 miles an hour. That is the 8th strikeout for Clayton. And at the end of 7.5 innings, Liriano is welcome to the club. And it's 8-3 Dodgers. to Clayton, that's enough. And Kershaw jumps up trying to plead, I believe, to stay in the game. There's no one throwing yet in the bullpen. Clayton has only made 89 pitches, and Mattingly's figuring, look, we got a lock on it. Why not save an inning, and we'll send you back out there to beat the Giants. Clayton frustrated. He even mentions Donnie. And then for Clayton Kershaw this year, he has 6 complete games, 24 starts. And Mattingly talking to his ace, who is 3 outs away from his 18th win. He'd be 18-3, 3-0 against San Diego, 12-6 lifetime. He would be 9-2 here at Dodger Stadium and 9-1 on the road. So Clayton, who had enough sense not to try and make a tag on a flying runner at the plate in a one-sided game, will now have to come to that same sense. Okay, I'll take an inning off. I'm sure he thinks it was hardly a hard work. 89 in 8 innings. Pedro Baez gets up in the pen, and he'll be asked to get 3 outs in the 9th. Meanwhile, D. Gordon, ball 1, single, stole a base, scored a run. Since then, flied to left, grounded to first, and struck out. So D1 for 4. Tapper to short. Amarista. Low throw. Gets away. Bounces into the San Diego dugout. I think Amarista double clutched and throwing on the run, and throws it away. Grandal unable to save him. Watch and see if he double clutches. Up. Yeah, that was the double. Grandal, who's a catcher first baseman, unable to save him, but he had trouble getting the grip. So Amarista will draw the error. So that means 4 errors in the game, 3 by the Dodgers. Maben had an error, so now it's 5 errors. Ramirez, 3 singles, drove in a run, scored 1, and committed an error. Ball 1. If you look at the hat on Torres' head, you realize there's something inside of it, and there's a liner in there to protect him from any serious head injury on a ball hit back at him. If he were suspicious of so-called superstitions, it'd be another story. He was pitching exceptionally well until he decided to put that liner inside the cap, and his ERA has gone up a bit ever since. 2 wins, 1 loss. Good ERA, 3.2. 1-1. Ball 2. They said to Torres, don't you think maybe the helmet is a bad thing? Torres said, I would rather have the helmet and an earned run average of 3 than not to have the helmet, have an earned run average of 1, and have a line drive hit me in the head. He's from Venezuela. 2-1. Originally signed by the Angels. Fastball sliced to shallow right. Here comes Liriano. It's going to drop. Here comes Gordon to the plate. So the Dodgers lead 9-3, and Hanley Ramirez has a 4-hit game. Four hits and a couple of RBIs. Gordon brings it home. Dodgers 9 runs, 12 hits, 3 errors. Padres 3 runs, 3 hits, 2 errors. Adrian Gonzalez grounded out, struck out, walked, and doubled. Whoa. Almost to the screen. 1 ball and no strikes. And a strike. Dodgers scored a run in the first, a run in the second, 2 in the fourth, 4 in the fifth, and now they add another. Uribe still holding court. Hard foul ball after first. Clayton Kershaw, who appeared a little miffed. Oh, not angry, not anything like that. He's a competitor and he wanted to go 9, and Mattingly said, look, take the inning off, pick up your 18th win and get your rest for San Francisco. 1-2. Checked on a fastball, strike. So they're going to ring up Adrian Gonzalez on that pitch. He thought he had held up, but down he goes. So Torres picks up a strikeout on that low check. The paid attendance tonight, 41,886. 41,886. Down in the pen, Yimi Garcia joining Pedro Baez. Yimi's first name Y-I-M-I. So Kershaw's got a couple of young pitchers backing him up as he sits and relaxes. Here's Kemp. High fastball. Kemp popped up, walked, scored a run, singled, scored a run, walked again. His single drove in a run in the 5th inning. 1 ball and no strikes. 2-0. So it's been Despaigne, Garces, Campos, Alvarez, and Torres. Dodgers trying to beat the Padres 11 out of 17 and 6 of 8 here. Change up in there. 2-1. So far, another tough night for Bud Black. His ball club won 66 and lost 76. Dave Roberts just off to his right. Sprayed foul upstairs. 2-2 to Matt. Tomorrow night, Roberto Hernandez and Andrew Kashner. Wednesday night, Dan Harron and Ian Kennedy. There they are. Kashner on the rail by Dave Roberts, and over at, well, that's Will Venable down there. And behind them, Ian Kennedy. 2-2. And ball 3. Torres 5'10", about 175 pounds. He'll be 27 in December. And meanwhile, Carl Crawford waits. Fouled away. Just looking at Carl Crawford, and I realized the transition. Years ago when I first started, you saw a hitter on deck. He had at least 2 bats for added weight. They would swing the extra bats and then they throw the bat away and keep the one they wanted. Then Elston Howard invented the donut or the cruller, That was the metal circular object that you put on top of the bat, and that gave you the same weight as two bats. Foul back. Now it's like a sleeve that they put on the bat. Added weight. Then you walk up with your 33-ounce bat or whatever. Do you know Babe Ruth at one time, is hard to believe, Babe Ruth had a bat that he used that weighed 52 ounces. Talking about Babe Ruth, that's tomorrow night. Babe Ruth bobblehead. Matt going after a bad ball, and down he goes. So 2 out. Ramirez holding. And here comes Carl Crawford.
The fielder, number 3, Carl Crawford.
Are you old enough to remember when the players left their gloves on the field? Talking about different changes. Well, that's what they used to do. And they'd be fun in games. They'd get little garter snakes, bring them to the ballpark. Say the shortstop leaves his glove out on the grass, and the center fielder going to his position, he'd run by and put the little snake inside the glove. Oh my goodness, you can imagine. Or hide the glove, try to hide it under second base or back of third. Of course, the corner fielders usually just threw their glove out in foul ground. The pitcher kept his glove. The catcher kept his mitt. But everybody else left the gloves out there. And what's amazing, when you realize all those pieces of leather scattered on the field, I don't ever remember where the glove was important, where someone stepped on a glove and slipped and fell, or the ball hit the glove. Nope. But they used to leave them out there. So the game has changed, but only in very small areas. Slow and very high. Tough night for Rene Rivera. He's caught 5 pitchers. They are all individuals, different stuff, different deliveries. And the catcher is trying to grab them all. As Scott Van Slyke talking to Clayton. Scotty might not be getting too much sleep. Aubrey's probably do all the work now that Eli arrived. Fastball shot up the middle for a base hit. Stopping at second is Ramirez. So Crawford has a walk, 2 singles, and a 3-run home run. So Yasiel Puig will be coming up as Crawford splits the middle. So Carl enjoying another solid night. And here's Yasiel, batting 6th in the lineup. Struck out in the 2nd inning. Single to center in the 4th to drive in a run. Grounded out in the 5th and walked in the 7th. Hitting .294. Oh and 1. Puig and Torres. Puig has walked twice against the little left-hander. No balls, 1 strike. One and 1. Hernandez and Cashner tomorrow night. Aaron and Kennedy Wednesday night. Ryu, Greinke, and Kershaw on the weekend against the Giants. And among other things, Dodgers will have to figure out what to do with Buster Posey. He and Adam LaRouche have been the player of the week. Posey's just been on another planet. 1 ball and 1 strike. Adam LaRoche had a great time against the Dodgers. Posey hit .565 during the week. 2-1. He led the National League, did Posey, in hits, runs scored 8, total bases 22. His slugging percentage .957, on base .593, tied for third in RBIs with 8. He had 4 RBIs Tuesday in a victory at Colorado. Then in Detroit, he had another couple of big games. So because of all that, Posey's batting average now is .309. That's 4th in the league. 2-1. 3-1. One other note, this would be the 3rd career weekly award for Buster Posey. He had it once in 2010, once last year, and now this year. (3-1) to Yasiel. Figure they'll green light him and hope he'll swing at a strike. And a big chopper right to Amarista, who takes care of it. When you have a former hitter as a manager, you know he'll do anything to help a hitter get out of a slump. So Puig taps out. Good night, Mr. Kershaw. You leave 9-3, and we're going to the 9th inning. Is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. You'll enjoy live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, live audio broadcasts, the MLB TV game of the day, and more. So get at bat for your smartphone or tablet on the App Store or visit MLB.com. Well, Alex Torres made 27 pitches to finish off the 8th. Miguel Rojas will now play in the 9th inning for Hanley Ramirez, and Pedro Baez will come in to try and get the final 3 outs. So for Clayton Kershaw, 8 innings, 89 pitches, so just about 11 pitches per inning. A nice workout for him, and although it appeared anyway that he wanted to go 9, the wise head said, no, that's enough. So you've got 6 complete. You don't have anything to prove. So Baez will try to finish the job. Clayton should be 18-3, 9-2 at home, 9-1 on the road, 3-0 against the Padres, 12-6 lifetime, and Don Mattingly and company should be 3.5 games in front of the Giants, unless Jerko, Rivero, Grandal, etc. come roaring back against Baez. Jed Jerko grounded out, walked, struck out, 0 for 2. And first pitch, towering foul ball, Uribe's play. Wow, that thing was up there a while. 1 out. By the way, we were talking about the fact that Buster Posey and Adam LaRoche were players of the week. Remember the extra inning game here with Washington, the 14-inning game? LaRoche got into that game in the 9th inning, and he wound up with 5 RBIs. That's only the second player ever to do that. You'd have to go back to Harold Baines in 1999, and for Harold, it included a walk-off grand slam. And another high foul. This might not be playable. It's heading back into the stands. 0-1. Rivera struck out, singled, fly to center, threw out 2 base runners. Rene 9 home runs, 34 runs batted in. And a fly ball that certainly will go foul. 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes to Rene Rivera. 9-3 Dodgers. High fastball to take care of him. So 2 out in the 9th inning. Jed Jerko, in fact, make it Yasmani Grandal. Grandal, switch hitter, batting left-handed. Rounded out, struck out twice against Kershaw. Clayton, by the way, struck out 8. And a high drive to right field. No doubt about that, baby. That's halfway up at least. Yes. So big Yasmani Grandal sticks one into the pavilion. That would be his 12th home run, and all 12 home runs batting left-handed. And the fans throw the ball back. They delight each other by doing that. Gordon will have to go out and retrieve it. So a 2-out home run by Grandal. And that makes it 9-4 Dodgers. 12 home runs for the switch hitting first baseman catcher. Pretty valuable guy to have around. And he's just starting out. So 2 down, 9-4 Dodgers. And a strike to Tommy Medica. Grounded out, popped up a couple. Boy, Grandal sure got all of that. So Baez now trying to put Medica away and finish off the game. 41,886. The Dodgers just made 6 runs in 2 innings, and that broke the game wide open in the 4th and 5th. Foul back. Dodgers scored in the 1st and 2nd, 2 in the 4th, 4 in the 5th, and for good measure picked up 1 more in the 8th. No balls, 2 strikes. Baez, who throws very hard, 12 strikeouts, 5 walks. Foul back. Tommy Medica. San Jose, Santa Clara, trying not to be the last out. Nine Padres struck out tonight, 8 against Clayton Kershaw. Foul back. So Medica hanging in there, fouling them off. Baez throwing hard, throwing strikes, and the battle continues. Oh, 0-2 to Tommy. Cameron Maben on deck. 1-2. Baez hitting 96. Dodgers shooting for their 82nd win, which would put them 20 games above 500. To the delight of 41,886. And that does it. The Baez comes in, strikes out 2, gives up a home run. 9 runs, 13 hits, 3 errors for the Dodgers. 4 runs, only 4 hits, and 2 errors for the Padres. Kershaw the winner, Despaigne the loser. And for Clayton Kershaw, a strong 8 innings. He struck out 8 and winds up winning his 18th as against only 3 losses. And the Dodgers give him the 9th inning off. And we'll see his next start will be a big one next Sunday against San Francisco. So that'll do it for us tonight. Tomorrow night, Roberto Hernandez, Andrew Kashner. Hope you'll be with us either out here or with us on TV. Either way, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.